Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Spiderhead. I don't know why I said it with like a Brooklyn accent there.
Is it, he stinks and I don't like him. Like, why
Spiderhead. You know why? Because I wanted to say Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man can only be said in a New Yorker accent.
No, and also the rights to Spider-Man are owned by Sony Pictures and Disney.
Right.
So we can't call him Spider-Man, so just his head is a spider. Spiderhead.
He's just got the arms and legs coming out of his head.
Exactly that.
Oh, that's terrifying.
That is.
That's terrifying. How are you guys doing today? My name is Shahbaz, obviously, as you probably can tell. I'm not Anthony. I'm not Daniel.
No.
But those are the two names of the Spiderheads that are in the room with me right now.
And we all sound like three white men, apparently. To the
We all
audience.
sound like three white men. Yeah. Why do we get that? We should have that as like the branding of our show. Like three white guys? Question mark.
It's not.
But it's not.
It's not.
It's not. I'm not white. But Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. I'm actually really excited to talk about this movie. We're going. I don't know. Here's the thing with our show right now with the movie podcast. We have a lot of episodes this week. It's been a very busy few weeks for us. That I don't know when this episode's going to go live. We're probably going to drop this a little bit after the embargo for the movie,
Sure.
which is Monday. So if you've listened to our Lightyear episode and interviews, thank you for that. If they're not out yet, I'm sure they're coming.
Yeah.
So we're living in the ether right now. I don't know where we are.
Time is not a flat circle.
Yeah, I
for
think
us.
we're living in the Spiderhead.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
that's
time
not
doesn't
good.
matter here.
That's not good. No. Anthony, what about yourself? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Friday I was a raptor. Today I'm a spiderhead.
What does the Spiderhead
I'm
sound like?
scared what that sounds like.
Spiderhead sounds like me, just with like you said, like spider arms coming out of my
Yeah.
head.
I feel like wouldn't that cause you some discomfort? Like you can't wear a hat.
I couldn't wear a hat. Probably have headaches all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't turn my neck
Why?
You could climb up walls really, really fast,
with
though.
my face.
Yeah, with your face.
It's awful.
It just
My
drags your body with
dragging
it.
my face across the wall.
Like it's just like wall and brick. You just see like Anthony's face just being cut up. But yeah, that sounds awful.
You doing okay though, Shay?
I'm doing great. I got nothing else to say about that.
That's okay. That's all we'll say. We're not
I was
talking
like,
about the weather.
man.
Not talking about what we're wearing. We're going right
I'm
to it.
wearing movie podcast merch though.
I am too.
Yeah.
I
Anthony,
am
what are you
not.
wearing? You're
I'm
wearing
not.
more Rude Boy stuff?
More Rude Boy stuff. I just didn't think to bring my
It's okay.
my merch with me.
Don't worry about it.
That's okay.
We're here
we
together.
have a jam-packed week though.
As long as there's one of us wearing it, we're
As long-
okay.
yes, exactly. As long as one of us is wearing it, the power lives.
The power
within
lives
us.
on. Yeah.
The Spiderhead will live on.
It's not even a
Spiderhead
not
will
even a thing
return.
for the movie. Yeah, not even a thing for the movie. Again, I don't even know why they called it Spiderhead because I know the facility's called that. But
Yeah, that's probably why.
But like, why? Like, what? It's not.
What was the choice?
It was just. It's a cool name, but like
Yeah.
it's so also like
Where does that come from?
Like, where does it come from?
That feels like a tattoo somebody would have.
Yeah.
Like in prison.
Spiderhead.
Like Spiderhead. Like Guantanamo or like Alcatraz. Spiderhead.
Those sound like prisons. Then you hear Spiderhead, and you're like, okay.
That's terrifying. It's like the salty spittoon in SpongeBob. It's like, yeah, you don't
It does
go
sound
there.
like a Marvel penitentiary.
Yeah.
Like something out of a comic book.
It does, yeah.
yeah. Well, you know what? You know where you can catch episodes of the movie podcast? In prison
Oh,
as well.
okay. I was going to say, I'm
Yeah.
like, did we ask where they could? But I guess in prison, the prison podcast feed were available there
Yeah,
too.
I feel like we're probably big in prisons.
I hope so.
I hope prisoners listen to us like, I want to aspire to stop killing and being a bad person.
I mean, a lot of them are probably just there for tax evasion and stuff too.
That's it. Yeah.
That's all they're there.
prisons are we in? Are we in like the high class?
What's a
prisons?
good prison, by the
Yeah.
way?
Well, there's different prisons.
Are we like
right?
at the Goodfellas prison where it's like, oh, they're getting
Like
their,
a 5-star prison?
Yeah.
There's a 5-star, and then there's like the
I would
murder prison.
I want
I'd
to be
say we're in
everywhere.
all. We're in all
We're a
prisons.
voice for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now in
Spiderheads alike.
in a prison near you.
Yeah. Okay.
That's gonna be our new thing. But like I said, every single Monday we're gonna be dropping these episodes. They're called our main episodes, okay? And then throughout the week we drop these review episodes, kind of like the one you're listening to right now.
It's true.
And you're like, whoa, prison podcast. I like the sound of that.
Yep.
But make sure you're following us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you leave a comment on Apple Podcasts, there is a 99.999% chance we're going to read it on the show.
The odds are strong.
The odds are really strong. You
Yeah.
should, like it's lottery ticket money kind of shit that you were talking about here.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I agree to some of that.
Like
Yeah.
you can just send us a letter about how much you hate us, and we'll read it.
Yeah.
It's true. Care of P.O. Box.
Daniel Studio.
Ho, ho, ho.
it'll find its way here. Did you guys ever write to that
I
address?
did. I definitely wrote to Santa. Of
Yeah, I
course,
wrote
as
to
a
Santa
kid.
too. But did you ever write to the one that you would see commercials for?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only one I knew.
Yeah.
By that time, I was too old.
So you
By the
believe in
time,
Santa?
sorry, you saw commercials? How old are you, by the
They
way?
were like the actual.
Oh, the advertised
they started
ones?
to commercialize.
They
Santa
did,
Claus
yeah.
in the sense that you can write to him and send it.
Yeah,
through,
I remember
and he
in
would write
school,
back.
too.
Is that still active, by the way?
I think it's still active. I think some
an
schools
email
still do
now.
it. They might do emails.
Santa's upgraded.
Yeah,
He's
my
on
mom,
iPhone?
my mom used to tell me back in the day that again, this is reminds me of Spiderhead, so that's why I was prison growing up.
course.
When I used to write the letter to Santa, I would give it to my mom because my mom was like, "Oh, there's a special elf that comes to her work that takes the letters," and then the letters that we'd get back were so nice and stuff. It was so like detailed to us. I'm like, wow, that's so.
So who was a special elf at work?
It was my mom.
Oh.
Yeah. And she'd write the letters on really nice paper and stuff like that. No, it was beautiful. It was
that's
really
very
nice.
sweet
Nice
of her.
memory. Let's talk about prison.
Let's talk about prison, but let's also talk about Discord, because if you've been in our
Same
Discord
thing,
lately,
really.
it's
Prison of movies.
It's a prison of conversation. No, we're having some great conversations on Discord right now. Honestly, we've been talking about Obi-Wan. We have an Obi-Wan spoilers channel going on right now, and I think we should probably open up a Miss Marvel one soon.
I think
too.
so, yeah.
But yeah, a lot of cool stuff happening in there. So join the conversation. We're having some great ones.
Yeah. We'll get better too with doing it per, like, as big movies come out.
Yes.
We'll open up rooms based on whatever the film is. So Thor
Correct.
Love and Thunder will probably be our next big one.
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. And you can also write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. Subscribe to us on YouTube.com/TheMoviePodcast and check out our show notes for all those links and more. Daniel, were there any announcements that you want to touch on, or did we kind of get them all?
Kind of all covered. Yeah, we got a lot of them covered. Like I said, this week is going to be crazy busy, so we're still figuring out our schedule of where things are going to drop. For certain, though, there is a review of Lightyear that is out, and for certain, there is a main episode of the movie podcast where we talk all about like the Last of Us remake and all of that fun stuff that was announced in the last week. Definitely check that out. We'll also have Obi-Wan somewhere. We'll have our Miss Marvel conversation we've already dropped last week, even though it's spoiler free. And then we'll have some fun interviews with Angus MacLean, Galen Sussman, and Michael Giacchino, who are the director, producer, and composer for Lightyear.
Right.
That's going to be out. We'll also have our conversation with the Pixar animators and maybe more stuff. So,
Who knows?
like Jay said, make sure you're following us on all of our socials so you can see exactly when and where all of this stuff is dropping.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Awesome. The movie we're talking about today is Spiderhead, and it is directed by Joseph Kosinski. If that name sounds familiar, that's because you probably just watched Top Gun Maverick, and he was the director of that as well. It will be released June 17th on Netflix, and we want to thank our friends over at Netflix for inviting us to watch this film. Anthony, give us a synopsis of Spiderhead.
In a state-of-the-art penitentiary run by brilliant visionary Steve Amnesty, inmates wear a surgical-attached device that administers dosage of mind-altering drugs in exchange for commuted sentences. There are no bars, no cells, or orange jumpsuits. In Spiderhead, incarcerated volunteers are free to be themselves until they're not.
Dum, dum, dum.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Daniel, give us your first reactions to Spiderhead.
Listen, I didn't know much going into this film. All I know is that I was a big fan of Joseph Kosinski and Miles Teller and Chris Hemsworth and Jurnee Smollett. And we saw the trailer for this. The trailer dropped after we saw Top Gun Maverick. I'm like, you know what? This looks a little strange. This looks very weird. And leaving this movie, I think the first thing I said to you guys, I'm like, that is a good old-fashioned bad movie. And I mean that in the sense where you're still going to get entertainment from it, but oh my lord, this movie is just absolutely ridiculous. And I think that's everything from the plot to the characters to the performances. It's so out there. The only way I could really describe it is if you think of the movie The Island, which we weirdly watched this year, Shay, with Ian McGregor, and you take the movie The Circle, and they had a baby. This is kind of what this movie is. Basically, you have these prisoners who are wearing these weird, so giant and ridiculously large, like
They look like
packs.
something that Harmonix would have made, like body. Like
For
Body
Rock Band,
Hero
yeah, back
5,
in the day,
you
yeah.
know, like just
Body Hero 5, yeah. And it was Anthony and I were laughing too because it kind of looked a little bit like the packs they wear in Crimes of the Future, where she's like doing the surgery on. It's like these giant like battery packs, like these giant like Nokia phones that they have attached to them with like little.
but not as strong.
Not as strong, with like different like types of like freezies in them, like this little
shots.
flavors, little flavor shots in there. And basically they give you they could put a different type of chemical in you and make you react different ways to things, right? And I think as a premise, that's very cool. That reminds me of something that almost like a student film would be like,
Free Black Mirror.
Like here's a Black Mirror. Here's this thing that we're going to give you. What was the bad one called? I was dying of laughter.
I'm gonna Darkened Flocks.
Darkened Flocks. Yeah, like give them the Darkened Flocks, and it's like that one like makes you feel pain and makes you feel like stressed and paranoid and everything like that. And then there's other ones where you could literally see shit and it'll be like, oh, it's like a golden sunshine. You know what I mean? So it's just really funny that the way they showed that in the movie. And I think it's really interesting seeing what all these different chemicals do. And Chris Hemsworth is, the leader of the pack here. He's again, it's revealed in the film that like he is the leader and it's his company, but it's kind of like obvious.
I thought it was obvious.
I thought it was common knowledge. Like, I guess maybe to the prisoners it wasn't, but it's just like to us, the audience is like, yeah, he's running the show. Like, we see him running the show.
I guess it's because it's so open, this penitentiary, right?
Yeah,
like,
no jumpsuits.
No jumpsuits. Yeah. You can literally walk into the room.
Yeah, everyone's chilling, doing their thing.
You can talk to the guy who runs it, but you don't expect you could. And I think that's where...
And all these people are prisoners as well, too. So a lot of them here have done some pretty, like, messed up shit in their life, right? And then you see glimpses of what, Miles Teller's past and Jurnee Smollett's past. And, yeah, from beginning to end, this movie... I will say it's very silly, but damn, wasn't I just weirdly entertained by just how silly it was. And I think that's not a good thing. It's not always a good thing to be like this movie's not good by any means,
right? But
it's also not. I'm also not upset at the time I spend watching it. And I think that's what's interesting is that when you're looking for something that like, if you're looking like for a junk food movie, like a movie that's just like, just give me something stupid to put on, like this movie kind of fills that gap. And it, as silly as it is, like I was still weirdly entertained by it because of that. Again, by no means is this a good movie, but it's still just weirdly entertaining. And that's kind of where I'm out with it. Like it's not good, but I was still entertained by its absurdity.
You can definitely be entertained with a bad movie.
Yeah, definitely. And there's bad movies that aren't entertaining, right? And then there's good movies that are just like, I'm sure this is good, but I'm not interested in it. This movie is still something that I was watching that I'm like, I can't believe I'm watching this now.
Were you more entertained with Spiderhead or Jurassic Park Dominion?
I'm so glad you asked me that. I was trying not to bring up Jurassic World Dominion, but I was still more entertained by Spiderhead, only because of it was interesting, where Jurassic World I found it was more boring. But yeah, it's hard to compare the two, I'll be honest with you.
Oh, definitely. But like, it's in I want the audience to be in your mind.
They want to be in my Spiderhead right now.
Yes, and I want them to realize what you find. We had two different types of movies. One which you expect it to be at least entertaining,
right,
and the other not to be, and it's a role reversal.
And it's true, right? And that's the thing, right? Like you leave movies sometimes, and you're like, that was not good, and I left feeling that for both Jurassic World and Spiderhead. But if I was being honest with myself, I was like, Spiderhead at least was shorter and it was crazier. So like at least I was more just like, where's this going to go? Where Jurassic World, I was a bit more like, on sad recorder. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's not a good movie, but I was still entertained by it.
Thank you, Anthony. What about yourself?
Going back to the trailer, when I saw this. Chris Hemsworth, Miles Teller. This is a Joseph Kosinski film. Just watched Top Gun. His track record at this point seems flawless. He hasn't really made a bad film yet. And the only hesitation I had was it was Netflix, and the trailer itself really didn't feel like a movie you would see from Kaczynski.
Yeah, no, it does not.
It doesn't feel like a Kaczynski, and that's one of the biggest things with this film. It doesn't feel like the directors that we know of. His vision was in this movie. It just felt so
it feels
separated.
Like a Netflix movie.
Yeah, and it does feel like a Netflix film. I am kind of in the same boat with Daniel that it was entertaining because I didn't know what the fuck was happening, and I was trying to understand what the point of the story was, why I should care about these characters, even though they're all, they've done shitty things in their life. And I'm trying to understand why they wanted to tell the story. Yeah. Because there's no resolve to anything. They're still bad people. They still are in prison, and they've conducted this, they are part of this
experiment
in which they will get a commuted sentence. So they knew what they were getting into. I think it's the idea of being used in such a way, to be manipulated in such a way that it feels that, you know, you have no control of who you really are.
Right.
And that's where the story is, because Miles Teller's character and
Jurnee Smollett.
Jurnee Smollett, they kind of bond together, and that's that group of prisoners who kind of find solace in a prison.
Similarities with each other. Oh.
And then they kind of, you know, I don't want to spoil it, but there's you know, a happy ending for everyone except some people.
Except the prisoners, really.
Yeah, eventually, Spiderhead becomes, you know, squashed.
Squashhead.
But overall, it was my biggest takeaway was, why did they make this film? What did they want the audience to feel coming out of it?
Yeah.
The script wasn't amazing. The acting was okay. The visuals were interesting. Some of the plot is, like you're just shocked that it's happening in front of you. But there are elements in here that just felt like, why is there a lady with poo on her hands?
Yeah, like, who's Pooh Finger?
Why? Why is that part of the story?
Why is this an element of this movie?
There's so many things that I wish that they expanded on in this movie, and so many things that I wish they didn't expand on. And I think I'm pretty much the same mind as you guys, but I think that entertaining factor of this movie that we watched is a one-time thing. I think it's purely based on the curiosity of where this film is going to go, and then once you kind of have seen it, you're like, I will never watch this again.
No,
because this movie is so silly. And I remember at almost every moment in this film, I would turn to you guys and be like, well, that's going to be important, because they draw so much attention to it.
Yeah, it's like, let me draw the character's eyes, the audience's eyes, and let's linger on this notebook.
Like, they think the audience is really dumb. Like, to the point where they're like, well, like, it would be out of nowhere. It would be just a random scene like, hey, by the way, be careful with your med packs. The slightest hit on them, which is a weird thing to say and do, will cause them to just overload and go crazy. Well, I'm like, well, that's going to be important in a few minutes, because I'm sure that he's going to probably hit something and all the meds going to go crazy.
I'm trying to think of what we could compare it to for people to really think about.
It felt like a dollar store, you know, like when those pill packs that you kind of get?
Yeah.
Like, it's that fragile.
It's like, but it's also like so obtrusive on your back as well too, and it's controlled by like an iPhone. And again, one of the things I think that we, you know, as fans of technology, and I think audiences are a lot smarter to this. I think if this was 10 years ago, you could get away with this. But if you're trying to convey in your story that, if you throw an iPhone against the wall and it starts glitching out and then a bunch of things randomly start happening, I'm like, that's not how phones work. No. Phones, that does not happen.
They're not tube televisions. Like, that's what was happening. There was like static on the screen.
Yeah, it's like static. It's like cutting and then music starts playing. I'm like, no, that's
phones
not.
Don't do that.
They don't do that.
You can destroy a phone, but no.
Yeah, that's not going to happen that way. And I think it's so many of those moments where it's like, this movie's so silly in that sense. Where you're like, it's like, why are you're trying to make these things happen? And that's why it feels like this movie feels like it's from like 2003.
Right.
Like, it's trying to be like that thriller, like literally it's like The Island. Like this and The Island you could do a double feature of and be like, wow, that's 4 hours of my life I'll never get back now. Yeah. But it's still just like, wow, that happened.
There are moments where, you know, like, obviously there are secret things hidden around. And for some reason, I didn't get why Chris Hemsworth has all this technology, but he's writing on pen and paper. It felt kind of weird.
Yeah, and then let me lock it in a drawer.
Let me lock it in like an IKEA, very basic drawer right here that he has the keys to. And then there's one scene where he's leaving and he drops the keys that are huge, by the way.
Yeah, it's like you just hear like a slam on the floor. You're like,
the camera just goes right to it.
Yeah. And again, camera lingers on it. Again, the camera flans back to... Pans back to Miles Teller, who looks at the keys and then is back and forth, and I'm like, dude, just grab them.
Yeah, it's also what I also found really funny too is that the facility when they're watching the effects, it's like a one-way mirror, right?
Yeah,
or two-way. What's it?
One-way.
Whatever.
It's a
one-way mirror. Yeah.
One-way
so it's like you see what's going on within
two-way.
One-way mirror.
I don't know.
Yeah, you see what's going on within the world of within the room of these characters interacting with each other.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the door to get inside that room is like down 17 hallways.
But it's even though it's like literally like from here to where
it's like
you
face to face. They're literally looking in this room. And but for some reason, the way to get into that room is like, let me go down this giant hallway.
But it doesn't take long to get there. It takes long to come back.
Yeah, because he took the scenic route, and you're just like, but why is it so? Why isn't there just the door here? It's just so silly.
They had to create the scene where Miles' character gets the keys and he's able to
Exactly.
but like they couldn't do it in 2 seconds, so you had to make this weird
facility that they're going
hallway
through.
that's
But the problem with
miles
that is
long.
it's such fabricated tension.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what all this movie is let me introduce an issue and let me immediately either give a resolution to this or make an obstacle.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but that's movies. I'm like, no, but it's like, it's apparent in this movie.
Yeah.
This movie will never make you, we talk a lot on the show. It's like, well, are you just questioning the reality of this world? This movie is constantly that.
Yeah.
This movie is literally questioning, well, but why can't they just do this? Or why are these med packs like so easily accessible?
Yeah.
They're just literally attached to them. Why
How do
can
they
they
sleep on
control
the
it?
back?
Why does that one iPhone control everybody's med pack?
Exactly.
How do you have access to everybody's? Like why do like it's just like
Why does the
why?
prisoner who's in prison have access to the person who's running the prison?
Yeah.
His med pack and be
Because-
able to control it at any point in time.
Yeah.
And like Chris Hemsworth's character establishes early on in the beginning that he has a med pack as well. So you already know that is going to be his downfall. His
Yeah.
creation will be what takes him
Because
down.
we see enough of these med packs going awry that you're going to see, oh, this must be that. Why again, we're questioning, I think, like, yeah, it's a med pack, that was the thing. But wouldn't have not have made more sense for them to be injections that they're like in a briefcase with, and then they go and they actually inject them each time?
feels like you would have more control that way, right?
Because they're literally going to each prisoner's room each night and like re-upping. Here's your Darkenflox. Here's your B6, or here's your
Yeah.
B21.
Yeah.
And it's like you're giving them each time. It's silly, and it's like those little moments where you're like, there's just such weird plot, like coincidences and issues that are being brought up that don't feel genuine or don't feel like they would be real in this world.
Let's talk about the performances here as well, because Chris Hemsworth is going in and out of Australia so often.
He's going down under all the time.
so
yeah.
often in this movie. There's times where I'm like, is he? What is he supposed to be? Is he American?
He
and I
literally-
can't tell.
He literally feels like he signed on to this film, and he's just like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And
Yeah.
he's like again that classic.
dancing,
Let me be that
eccentric
dancing
billionaire.
eccentric billionaire that's doing this, and it's like, but like it's like we've seen this. It's such a cliche at this point. You know?
It's not a good performance by anybody in this film, and I hate to say that because it's full of great actors.
It is full of great actors. Yeah,
but they're all really just doing one take, and that's it.
yeah. Miles Teller is here. He kind of.
He's bored.
He's bored. It's funny seeing the like the scene where he's given that, I guess, whatever chemical to fall in love with somebody, and he just kind of looks.
B12?
Is it B12?
I don't know.
I was like, wow, you know?
And he's like, I want some of that B12.
B11?
Yeah, one of them, and then like you just see them start like getting so like turned on by one another, and it's so
cringy.
awkward. It's a little
Yeah.
cringy. Yeah, then they just start going crazy. Like you're like, oh, okay, this is where we're going with it, you know. But it's but that's that. But here's the thing, though. That was what made my watch of it fun. Is because you're like, this is so absurd.
Yeah.
This is so absurd.
It's just silly. And the other thing is like, you have this movie that clearly has the COVID effect on it, where you can tell there's only shot in one location.
Yeah.
But you have this really cool facility, and they show you 3 locations.
Yeah,
the
3
whole time.
rooms.
That's it. So it feels like there's so much more that could be there, but they don't develop the world any further.
Right.
They always kind of, as soon as they're about to develop it further, they slow it down and bring it back 12 paces.
Right.
So, and then the film happens, and it's so silly again what's happening, because it's just ridiculous. Like
it's so drawn out too.
It's so drawn out.
So drawn out.
And this movie's not long. It's just an hour and 40, I think.
Hour
right?
40, yeah.
But it feels like it takes forever to get to the point. Like, I didn't know what the purpose of the film was for a long time.
Yeah, it's very
You
interesting.
still don't know until the
I
end.
still don't know.
You don't know. Like, at the end, it's just like, why is this, like I said, why is this a story that we needed to watch on the screen? I don't know what I was supposed to take away from this film.
Yeah.
Because they were prisoners and they escaped at the end.
But here's the thing, though, and when we look at it in the most basic sense, this is going to be a movie that has 3 known entities in it. Has a very a director who's coming off one of the biggest films of the year, Joseph Kosinski with Top Gun Maverick. You have Miles Teller, you have Chris Hemsworth, you have Jurnee Smollett. This is going to be number 1 on Netflix this week. Like, this is going to be the movie that I think everybody watches on Netflix in the next week.
But they're not even advertising it, though. That's the weirdest part about it.
I know, but I think Netflix just knows that. Netflix, again, we talk all the time about Netflix's marketing, and it's not great. They do interesting things with like Stranger Things and other stuff, but with a movie like this, people are just going to see it and they're going to be like, oh, Chris Hemsworth, Miles Teller, yeah, I'll watch this.
Yeah.
And,
No, for sure.
and that's how it's going to be discovered,
It'll be
right?
the banner, like, you know, when you open up Netflix.
Yeah,
the
it's gonna,
first thing
you're
will
going to
be
see that there. You know, and I think that's what it's going to be.
Will the audience, they'll watch it and then they'll probably either really dislike it. I don't think the audience has the patience to really go through this whole film and say, yeah, that's a great movie, or yeah, I'll rewatch that again.
This feels like, again, we talk all the time. I look at all movies the same way, and I think we all do too. Like, a movie is a movie, regardless of if it's on a streaming or if it's on the big screen. I love watching movies on the big screen, but this movie felt like it was made for a streaming service. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. I just mean that this is a movie that just felt like it was made to be watched on Netflix. It feels like a movie that would have come out in the early 2000s, and we would have seen everywhere on DVD and in the bargain bins everywhere, of like, oh, here are these actors in this movie. I didn't realize they did a movie with
They did this movie before their big break.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is Bruce Willis in this?
Yeah.
Well, he's not in this movie, but it gives me that vibe where there are some movies sometimes that just feel like they were made, like, let's make this. It's going to be on Netflix, and that's it. You know what I mean?
And it has a wild budget, this movie. It's over $100 million.
Which is crazy to me. And I don't know if that's because they shot during COVID.
The med packs.
It's the med packs.
The
Those
med
are
packs
real.
are real medicine.
They created a real science company to do that. Yeah.
Wild. Well, let's jump into our final recommendations, unless you guys have anything else to say about Spiderhead.
Yeah, I think we'll save it for the final Rex.
All right. Let's start off with Daniel.
For myself, honestly, this movie is absurd. And like we said at the top of the show, this is a good old-fashioned bad movie that you may find some enjoyment with. So I'm just going to say it's not one you have to watch right away. Add it to your queue. It's a one and done. And then you'll be able to say that you could join the Spiderhead clan, you know? You could join us in the Spiderhead world.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Anthony, what about yourself?
For me, this is a silly film. You know how I always say, go, you
You
watch
paid for it.
You paid for it.
Yeah.
Go watch it. I want to say skip this one. Go watch something else on Netflix, because this is a film that you're gonna come out of it with nothing in your hands, and it won't be memorable, and it'll just be forgettable at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going to say skip this as well. I didn't find much joy in this movie or anything that I'd say like, oh yeah, you're going to walk out of this like, oh, that was really cool. Again, you have paid for it, so if you do want to watch it one day, let us know what you thought of it.
Yeah, please.
If you did watch it, but I don't think this needs a watch. Well, as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday, and watch out throughout the week for our review episodes just like this one. But this one was on Spiderhead, and the next one will be on something else. That's how it works, I believe.
That is, let me just check your math on that.
Is that good?
Math adds up.
Math adds up.
Yep.
And make sure to follow us at The Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We love reading those out. And the review, if you could make it 5 stars, that'd be really helpful as well, by the way. You can join our Discord. We're having some great conversations in there. And you can write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. Go buy our merch, support us, keep the lights and the mics on, as Daniel always says, and subscribe to us on youtube.com/TheMoviePodcast. That was this time with The Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.